Salute to all the real ones out there. It's your boy Mike coming at you again with another video. Y'all like the content that I've been dropping, the direction that my channel is going in. I need you to like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos with anybody you think may benefit from them, alright? Now, today's topic is something that I've actually wanted to cover for quite some time, and I'm finally getting around to it, but I'm sure at some point or another in everyone's life, they have gone through their personal versions of this, right? So today's topic is actually going to be PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. All right, so let's jump straight into it. So PTSD is a mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event, either experiencing it or witnessing it. Symptoms may include flashbacks, nightmares, and severe anxiety, as well as uncontrollable thoughts about the event. Most people who go through traumatic events may have temporary difficulty adjusting and coping, but with time and good self-care, they usually get better. If the symptoms get worse, last for months or even years, and interfere with your day-to-day functioning, you may have PTSD. Alright, so real quick disclaimer, anything that I'm covering right now, you guys can find in the description box below. I pulled this from an article that covers PTSD on the Mayo Clinic. So feel free to jump onto the site and go into detail. I'm just going to take out some of the main points that I saw. Now, I feel like PTSD is something that's affecting all of us in some way, shape, or form. Me personally, I'm actually seeking professional help. And what I'm noticing is there are even things from my childhood that I did not realize are playing a role in how I go about my day-to-day life as an adult. So I'm like the oldest child, as you guys have probably heard in my other videos, and already just from my birth order, being the #1 kid, there's going to be a lot of things that are, well, there were things that were expected of me that might not have affected my younger siblings to the degree that it affected me. So already I'm going to have the firstborn traits, feeling like I have to conquer the world, chip on my shoulder, always feeling like I need to go above and beyond, putting a lot of pressure on myself, so on and so forth, right? But couple that with the fact that this is not a harp on my or a shot at my mom, but the fact of the matter is I grew up without a father, and I know many people also experience that same fate. And we all have our ways that we navigated around it. I mean, I'm 35 years old, so I'm not going to look back at the past and point any fingers, but it's just a simple fact. So essentially, I became a man on my own merit. And luckily for me, I was a very observant person. So I managed to get past a lot of the things that boys in my situation don't get past. I mean, the statistics kind of go to show that single mother households, or single parent households for that matter, but specifically single mother households, the boys that are raised in that type of environment are more prone to become criminals, to land in jail, or to just not be able to take over their life with the characteristics that a quintessential man would have. So that's neither here nor there, but also just the fact that I was in the military, and not only that, but I was a medic. So I've been deployed twice to Iraq, basically 2 one-year deployments, and mainly the first deployment is where I saw trauma. The second deployment was more where I understood how governments work, how media works, how manipulation of the masses works, because I saw things through our diplomatic ties that we had with the Iraqi government at that moment. Long story short, I just understood how they paint a certain narrative to fuel their agenda, to move forward on their mission. I'm talking about the elites here. Basically how they mold public perception. And I briefly mentioned that when I talked about Edward Bernays and how he can manufacture consent and manipulate public opinion. That's what I learned in my second deployment. But either way, it was both. When you take just my military experience, period, both of those deployments, what they did is they helped to shift my paradigm to the level of understanding that I'm at now. And there were a lot of emotions and things that I experienced along with that. And the biggest thing was I had denial that I even had PTSD, you know? So I know a lot of you guys out there, especially if you were military or if you're just had a rough childhood or you were abused or whatever, you probably have these issues, and it would be wise of you to actually seek professional help so that you can drop that emotional baggage and become just a better person. So let me go ahead and jump into some of the things that actually would spark some or would lead to someone having PTSD. So you have the most common events that lead to the development of this disorder: combat exposure, what I just mentioned, childhood physical abuse, sexual violence, you know, and that's for men and women. Some little young boys are raped or, you know, put in weird situations, molested, so on and so forth. Physical assault, being threatened with a weapon, like let's say you're going to the ATM and somebody just runs down on you with a pistol and holds it to your head and threatens to take your life if they don't get your wallet. Or an accident, you know, just imagine like you have a car accident that really damages you, and for months you're laying up in the hospital, and now you finally come to the point where you're in better health. You will probably feel flashbacks or some type of weird sensations whenever you think about getting back into a car. So PTSD symptoms are usually grouped into 4 different types. So you have intrusive memories, avoidance, negative changes in thinking and mood, and then you also have physical and emotional reactions. So when you think about the intrusive memories, like this is where you have maybe reoccurring or unwanted memories of what happened to you, right? So I know for a while, I don't want to go into detail because I just feel it's like unnecessary for me to do so, but I remember seeing like 3 days into me being in Iraq back in 2007, there was a helicopter pilot that I remember seeing die. And I'll never be able to get that image out of my head. Just how, just basically seeing when someone's face, like the anatomy, all that anatomy from here to here, just imagine my whole face is just ripped off. Like just seeing that, there's no Hollywood script that could simulate that, you know. Not to mention that, but also the look in that person's eyes, that impending doom where they knew they were going to die, and this is the last thing that they will ever see. It like really touched me. So that's something that even to this day, here it is 13 years later, I will always from time to time just have a thought of that. And what I've done, luckily, is it's motivated me to live a more balanced and healthy life, understanding that it's inevitable that all of us will die. But for other people, they had to go through certain coping mechanisms, which I will get to at the bottom of, let's say, this video. Then you also have reliving the traumatic event as if it were happening again. So this is like AKA flashbacks. Some people go through those too, just sitting at the bar with their buddies, maybe a door slams and then this dude is all on guard, acting like he wants to draw a weapon. But this is only from his tour in Afghanistan or what have you. You have avoidance. Symptoms of avoidance may include trying to avoid thinking or talking about the traumatic event, avoiding places, activities, or people that remind you of the traumatic event. So like, let's think about the example with sexual abuse. It might have happened every single time to the young child, let's say in a basement. Just imagine like an adult taking advantage of a young child and making them get undressed or doing whatever awkward, psychotic thing to that child and taking advantage of them sexually. And every time it was inside of a dark basement. And then now you have a house party, and then you're telling this dude, hey, come through. Maybe he comes down there, and now when he's drunk, he's feeling the need to just fight everybody, and no one knows where it's coming from, but it might be from him subconsciously, him or her subconsciously feeling like, now I'm strong enough to fight off whoever wants to take advantage of me. And they don't even understand that this is a subconscious ploy. That's all happening due to a trigger from their childhood, you see? Negative changes in thinking and mood. Now, I know all of us who have experienced some type of PTSD have gone through at least 1 to 2 of these things. Negative thoughts about yourself, other people, or the world. Hopelessness about the future, especially now. Especially now, like with this whole corona situation going on, I know a lot of people feel uncertain. But couple that in with some of the things that you maybe experience where you actually have PTSD, it almost has a magnifying or multiplier effect. Memory problems, including not remembering important aspects of the traumatic event. I have buddies that definitely experienced this. You know, just can't remember anything. Oh, what did I do with my keys? Like, bro, they're right there on the table. Oh, now they have them in their left hand and they're looking for them in their right hand. Like, bro, you need to see somebody for this, right? Difficulty maintaining close relationships. This affects me for sure. Feeling detached from family and friends. This also affects me for sure. Lack of interest in activities that you once enjoyed. That happened to me before, where I just kind of just went through a depression, you know, and had to, I guess, weather the storm. Difficulty experiencing positive emotions. That's definitely even the case now. Like I'm talking to a therapist now, and my wife is also the #1 person who experiences this. But just seeing like how I'll just take a normal situation and make it very grim. Couple that in with the fact that I jumped down the rabbit hole and started to learn about how the world works. You know, the conspiracy theorist tag will get thrown my way and shit like that. So there are periods in my life where I just realize I have to consciously get out of the negative cloud that's making everything look like it's grim and dark and gray. And I know that's linked to PTSD. And then you have feeling emotionally numb. Yo, that's the truth too. You know, even just hearing about somebody recent loss of a loved one, or hearing on the news that someone died or whatever, that another person was shot by the police or whatever, it desensitizes you. I mean, that's happening around the whole culture anyway, around the whole world anyway. Like, the media is always peddling fear and trying to boost up ratings by just having you in your lower energy, your lower chakras. But when you think about PTSD, after seeing something up close like I have, it kind of separates you from your emotions, and you don't even feel the way that you would before. So my therapist says that, for example, you're going neck up again. So basically from neck up, like I'm keeping everything in the logical realm, but I'm not actually processing how I feel neck down. Changes in feeling and emotional, or changes in physical and emotional reactions. So some of the things you can see with this category is that the person may be startled or easily frightened. They might always be on the guard for impending danger. Self-destructive behavior such as drinking too much or driving too fast. Now this is definitely happened to me, even together. You know, there was a point in my life where, like, after my first deployment, it was like every single weekend I was drunk. Every single weekend I was drinking. And it was just a coping mechanism, just feeling like, yo, I gotta feel a buzz. I gotta get into something. I can't just sit alone. Like, even if I was alone, it was like, I'm not just gonna sit in my barracks room. I was always out, always gone, always moving, doing something. A lot of the times it was productive things. Like, don't get it twisted. It's not like I was hiding in alleys and getting smacked, you know, just 9 in the morning and I'm just drunk, tired, ain't had a glass of water, ain't ate breakfast. No, I was more of like a functional coper, you know. But that's neither here nor there. I was always, it felt like running away from how I truly felt. Trouble sleeping, most definitely. Trouble concentrating, that didn't really affect me too much. Irritability, anger, angry outbursts, or aggressive behavior. That's damn for sure. And then overwhelming guilt or shame. I could revisit and talk about that and make a whole video just on the guilt and shame that I experienced. And it wasn't even me. As a medic, I was saving people. But just a simple fact, sorry, like my back is itching a little bit. But just seeing what weapons are capable of doing to a human body, it made me feel guilty knowing that I'm wearing the uniform I'm wearing the same uniform of the people who inflicted this damage on this particular part of the world. And it just made me feel awful at times. So I did have like a lot of guilt and shame. So some coping mechanisms that I've seen, the negative ones is that people tend to get into alcohol, weed / drugs, pills, and I've even seen eating disorders where people just constantly feel sick to their stomach and they just can't even eat. So what they do is they binge eat and become way too overweight, or the opposite, bulimic. They eat and then they just can't keep it down, so they're throwing it back up. So I've seen both types of eating disorders. And then you have positives, such as like yoga, exercise, mixed martial arts, running, spirituality, and then last but not least, which is the one I recommend in tandem with the other ones, which is physical professional therapy. So like all I want to know is that, or all I want to say is that if you have gone through things in your life, trust me, there's somebody else that can understand where you're coming from. And if anybody can, it's me. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but just try to seek help and try to come out of this situation. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll holler back.